Are you a dumb dog? So this is a teaching for women, and I suggest that you follow along with my sister Brooke and I as we go through on if you're actually fulfilling what we're called to be doing, which is being watchmen.
Okay, so I'm going to start in Mark 13, and I'm going to read verses 33 to 37. Take heed, watch and pray, for you do not know when the time is, as a man going abroad, having left his house, and given authority to his servants, and to each his work, and commanded the doorkeeper to watch. Watch, therefore, for you do not know when the master of the house is coming, in the evening, or at midnight, or at the crowing of the cock in the morning, lest coming suddenly he should find you sleeping. And what I say to you, the porter, I say to all, watch.
So we also see this watchman calling in Ezekiel 2, and we're going to start there in verse 7. And you shall speak my words to them, whether they hear or whether they refuse, for they are rebellious. And you, son of man, hear what I am speaking to you. Do not be rebellious like that rebellious house. Open your mouth and eat what I am giving you, which is also cross-referenced in Revelation 10, 9, and 10. And I looked and I saw a hand stretched out to me, and see, it was a scroll of a book that was in it. And he spread it before me, and it was written on the inside and the outside, and written on it were lamentations, mourning, and woe. Okay, so let's go ahead and, being in rebellion is as, it's actually in 1 Samuel 15:23. Rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is iniquity and idolatry. So let's go now to Ezekiel 3, 1 through 9.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, this is again the watchman's call, okay, son of man, eat what you find, eat the scroll, and go and speak to the house of Israel. And I opened my mouth, and he fed me the scroll. And he said to me, son of man, feed your stomach and fill your stomach with the scroll that I am giving you. And I ate it, and it was as sweet as honey in my mouth. And he said to me, son of man, go to the house of Israel, and you shall speak to them with my words. For you are not sent to a people of foreign speech and of difficult language, but to the house of Israel. Not too many people of foreign speech and of difficult language whose words you do not understand. If I had rather sent you to them, they would have listened to you.
So that goes back to Zephaniah 3:9. Not my last video, but the video before that. I have a teaching on Zephaniah, the entire chapter of Zephaniah 3. But it says that Jehovah will restore to them a pure lip. So the word police, pushing the Paleo-Hebrew, nobody's actually speaking Paleo-Hebrew. He is going to restore that pure language. It's not up to us to do it. So any of you out there, all of that mess, just stop. It's a stumbling block into the lost sheep. The lost sheep will speak English. The watchman will warn people in their own language. Like I said, you can go back to my Zephaniah 3 video and watch that teaching. And also, did you want me to read Matthew 10:27 really quick?
Yeah.
All right. So the watchman calling, we hear it reiterated again in Matthew 10:27. I'll read it really quick. It says, what I say to you in the dark, speak in the light, and what you hear in the ear, proclaim on the housetops. You want to go to Ezekiel 33?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go back real quick to 7, verse 7 in Ezekiel 3, because look, we're supposed to go out and we're supposed to speak and trying to find our lost brothers and sisters, which are the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But he tells us, he says, but the house of Israel is going to refuse to listen. So don't be surprised by this. When they don't listen to you, or they try to plug their, put the Q-tips in their ears, okay, don't be surprised. And it says, for they refuse to listen to me. For all of the house of Israel are hard of head and hard of heart. See, I shall make your face as hard as their faces, and your forehead as hard as their foreheads. Like adamant stone, harder than flint, I shall make your forehead. Do not be afraid of them, nor be discouraged at their looks, for they are a rebellious house. And do you have anything you want to add to that?
So basically, you see the watchman calling at the end of Mark. You see it in Ezekiel 2, 3, and 33. And what this calling is to do is to fulfill the royal law. You are looking over the souls of the house of Israel. We're not supposed to be feasting. We're not supposed to be feeding our own belly. We are supposed to be looking over the souls of our brothers and sisters in the house of Israel to call them out. call them out of the Christian churches. And what we're trying to teach you guys who are in the Torah movement, feeding your own bellies, is to repent before the time is too late. So that was the call to be watchmen. And now we want to go over what the royal law actually is, because no one in the Torah movement who is feasting right now is fulfilling the royal law. So we're going to read a few scriptures about what the royal law is to really just hit this point home so that you know what you're supposed to be doing.
Okay, so in James 2:8, it says, if you truly accomplish the royal law according to the scripture, you shall love your neighbor as yourself, you do well. But if you show partiality, you commit sin, being found guilty by, so this is it, right? Like, we're not supposed to be partial. It doesn't matter. Basically, we're just supposed to go out there and share the news with whoever says is a believer, and try to get them on that narrow road. Also, that's quoting Leviticus 19:15 through 18. Because, okay, we're doing this too because we don't want to have blood on our hands. So it says in Ezekiel 33:6, it says, but if the watchman sees the sword coming and shall not blow the ram's horn, and the people shall not be warned, and the sword comes and takes any being from among them, he who is taken away in wickedness, and his blood I will require at the watchman's hand. So it's a very serious calling.
Okay, and I want to, it's also in Galatians 5:14. It says, for the entire Torah is completed in one word. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And there's also a portion, was it Luke? Yeshua is talking to, is it the rich man, the lawyer? And he's like, what is written in the law, and how readest thou? Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as yourself. This commandment has always been there. It is not a new commandment. So you were supposed to. This is written in the Torah. So you people who were feasting and profaning his feast, it's in the Torah and you're not doing it. So Galatians here tells you that the entire Torah is summed up in the words, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And none of you are doing that because you're feeding your own bellies.
Mm-hmm. And you do not want to be a dumb dog. You want to bark. You want to bark. So what does that even mean? Well, we're about to find out.
I'm going to read Isaiah 56. Let's go to verse 10. And I want to reiterate something as well here. When we're reading along, follow along in your own Bible. Like, go search this stuff out for yourself. Read it for yourself. Do not take our word for it. Go search it out for yourself. So I'm going to start in verse 10 in Isaiah 56. His watchmen are blind, all of them. They have not known. All of them are dumb dogs, unable to bark, dreaming, lying down, loving to slumber. And the dogs have a strong appetite. They can never have enough. And they are shepherds. They have not known understanding. All of them look to their own ways, everyone his own gain from his own end, saying, come, let me bring wine and fill ourselves with strong drink, and tomorrow shall be as today, even much greater. So his watchmen are blind. Every single one of you who woke up to keeping the Torah, the law, right? You are the many called. And if you go back, the verse says it's many called, but few are chosen. In the Hebrew, it says few choose. You were called to be Jacob. You were called to be the very elect. But what did you do? You stopped your ears from hearing. I've said this in many of my videos. Your hearts go after your covetousness. And what did you do? You returned to Gilgal. You did what was right in your own eyes. What did Saul do in Gilgal? He went after the Amalekites. Jehovah told him to destroy all the livestock. Don't bring any sacrifices unto me. Destroy everything. That is not what Saul did. What he did was he ended up sacrificing animals that weren't supposed to be sacrificed. They were supposed to be destroyed. So Saul did what was right in his own eyes. And we're going to reiterate this more, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. But Isaiah 56, and I'm going to reiterate it again. He says, and the dogs have a strong appetite. They can never have enough. You're feeding your own bellies instead of going back to the Christian churches, instead of calling people out, saying, hey, we have to keep the 10 Commandments. He woke you up to his Torah, but you stopped your ears from hearing because you don't give a damn about his people. You care about yourself and yourself alone. That's why you're feasting in a profane land. You're profaning his feasts, doing what is right in your own eyes.
And it's also part of the sin of presumptuousness, which is also in Psalm 19:13. So go look that up and read it as well. So as far as it being Isaiah 56, that's also a cross-reference to Ezekiel 34. Again, part of what we're supposed to be doing as watchmen. It says, "And the word of Yah came to me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say to them, Thus says the Master Yah to the shepherds, Woe to the shepherds of Israel who have been feeding themselves because they're greedy. They can never have enough," right? And it says, "Should not the shepherds feed the flock? You eat the fat, and you put on the wool. You slaughter the fatlings. You do not feed the flock." He's wanting Hosea 6:6, which is quoting, Matthew 9:13. Go and learn what this means, that he desires mercy and not sacrifice. Okay, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. So it says in verse 4, "You have not strengthened the weak, nor have you healed the sick, nor bound up the broken, nor brought back the straying, nor sought what was lost, but you have ruled them with might and harshness. And they were scattered because there was no shepherd, and they became food for all the beasts of the field when they were scattered. My sheep wandered through all the mountains and on every high hill. And my sheep were scattered over all the face of the earth, and no one was seeking or searching for them. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of Yah. As I live, declares the Master Yah, because my flock became a prey, and my flock became food for every beast of the field, from not having a shepherd. And my shepherds did not search for my flock. My shepherds did not search for my flock. But the shepherds fed themselves and did not feed my flock. Therefore, O shepherds, hear the word of Yah." Again, that's quoting Isaiah 56, 10 and 11.
I'm going to go to Matthew 24. And also in Jeremiah 3:15, it speaks about Jehovah has to raise up shepherds after his own heart. Because the church has gone completely apostate, and you Torah teachers, the dumb dogs out there, will not bark. They will not fulfill the royal law. You're more worried about feasting, finding out the calendar that he took away, restoring the pure language that he said he was going to restore. Like, you're doing all the wrong things, and because of that, he's going to send you into the fire of affliction. So Jehovah has to raise up shepherds of his own, by his own heart. Those are your watchmen. That is Jacob. They answered the servant calling. They were the many called, and they chose to do the work. They entered into the work of the prophets. They reap what they sowed, and together they rejoice. There's a reason why you women in the Torah movement don't know prophecy, which is the testimony of Yeshua. And we'll get into that in just a minute. But I'm going to go into Matthew 24, 42 to 51. "Watch, therefore, for you do not know what hour your master is coming. And know this, if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Because of this, be ready too, for the Son of Adam is coming at an hour when you do not expect him. Who then is a trustworthy and wise servant, whom his master has set over his household to give him meat in due season? Blessed. Blessed. When you hear blessed, think of the Beatitudes. Think of Matthew 5. Blessed is a title. I haven't done a teaching on the Beatitudes yet. I plan to do one, but it is not written to anybody but Jacob, to the servants who are fulfilling the royal law, who have taken the watchman calling. So if you are blessing yourselves, accounting yourself to that number, and you're feasting, and you're going after a calendar that he took away, and you're profaning his feast in a profane land, it is not written to you. Blessed is that servant whom his master having come shall find so doing. Truly I say to you, that he shall set him over all his possessions. But if that evil servant say in his heart, my master, my Lord delays his coming, and begins to beat his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunkards, the master of that evil servant shall come on a day when he does not expect it, and at an hour that he does not know. And he shall cut him in two, and appoint him to the portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So to eat and drink with the drunkards, that goes back to Isaiah 28. Woe to the crown of pride, the drunkards of Ephraim. There is a curse over this nation. Babylon, America, Ephraim. It's a spirit of covetousness and pride And then it goes to...
Which is an idiom. These are idioms. It's whenever it says not to drink with them, okay? It doesn't mean literally throw out your alcohol. Go and watch the last video I just had on my channel. It was about unlocking the BS, which is the deeper meanings of the Bible speech, okay? This is speaking in a jabbering lip, all right? So just wanted to mention that.
And when it says here in verse 48, but if that evil servant says in his heart, my Lord or my master delays his coming. That means, oh, I don't have to go and do the hard thing and fulfill the royal law. You are putting off the holy commandment, the royal law, the holy commandment, the calling to watch, to rebuke sin. We are living in a time of full-blown fables. Judah's fables, the Christian church, the Torah movement, full-blown fables.
And what are we supposed to do with those?
We rebuke the fables sharply. We rebuke sin and we rebuke the fables sharply. So I'm going to go to 2 Peter 2. And let's go. I'm going to read 2 Peter 2, 20 to 22. For if they have escaped the defilements of the world through the knowledge of the Master and Savior Yeshua Messiah, and they are again entangled. So you return to the drunkards of Ephraim. You're going back to your vomit. If they are then entangled in them and overcome, their latter end is worse for them than the first. For it would have been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness, than having known it, to turn from the set-apart command, the royal law, rebuking your neighbor, delivered unto them. For them, the proverb has proved true. A dog returns to his vomit, and a washed sow returns to rolling in the mud, or she returns to the mire. So let's from there go to Proverbs 6. And I'm going to read verses 16 to 19. I need to be a better Bible flipper. Okay. So this is Proverbs 6, 16 to 19. These 6 matters Jehovah hates, and 7 are an abomination to him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. A heart devising wicked schemes. Feet quick to run to evil. A false witness breathing out lies, and one who causes strife among the brothers.
Okay, which also kind of goes into Matthew 12. So go ahead and flip with me to Matthew 12, 43, verse 43, about unclean spirits. So now when the unclean spirit goes out of a man, he goes through dry places seeking rest and finds none. Then it says, I shall return to my house from which I came, and when it comes, it finds empty, swept, and decorated. Then it goes and takes with it 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and they enter and dwell there. And the last of that man is worse than the first. So shall it also be with this wicked generation.
And remember, like when it's speaking about the house is swept clean, this is someone who has been in covenant. This is someone who turns from the holy command. Like that's the house being swept clean. Like they've entered into covenant, the house is swept clean. And then if you turn from that holy covenant, your latter end is worse from you than their first. Like he would rather you be hot or cold.
That's the church of Laodicea,
yeah,
in fact, in Revelation.
Those of you doing the feast, you are the church of Laodicea. He's going to spew you out of his mouth, and he's going to send you into the fire of affliction.
So we can also see this in Psalm 37:20. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of Yah, like the splendor of the meadows, they vanish. Like smoke, they vanish away. The wicked borrows and does not repay, but the righteous one shows grace, okay, or favor, and gives. And that means conviction, by the way. For his blessed ones inherit the earth, but those cursed by him are cut off.
All right, so I'm going to go to Psalm 18, verse 8 to 24. And Jehovah repays me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands before his eyes. With the lovingly committed, you show yourself lovingly committed. With the clean, you show yourself clean, and with the crooked, you show yourself twisted. For you save the afflicted people, but bring down those whose eyes are haughty. He cannot stand a proud look. But bring down those eyes who are haughty. For you yourself light my lamp. Jehovah my God makes my darkness light. So this goes back, if you think of he lights the lamp, you go back to the wise and the foolish virgins. That's in Matthew 25. That's the parable of the wise. We're not going to read it today, but you can go to Matthew 25 where the wise and foolish virgins are. And you can also look for the foolish virgins in 1 Thessalonians 4. And then you can look for the wise virgins in 1 Thessalonians 5. 1 Thessalonians 5, actually, I'll go there right now. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians 5. Here we go. So I'm not going to read 1 Thessalonians 4, but those are the people who have to go through tribulation. So if you're feasting now, if you go read Hosea 8, 11 to 13, or 11 to 14, you are going into tribulation. You're going into captivity. You are the foolish virgins. You have to wait, and you have to do what we're doing right now through tribulation. So I'm going to go read 1 Thessalonians 5. This is written to Jacob. This is written to the holy brethren. These are the people who know that his coming comes like a thief in the night. It says, now, brothers, as to the times and seasons, you do not need to be written to. For you yourselves know very well that the day of Jehovah comes like a thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, then suddenly destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. This is written to the man-child, to Jacob, the 144. Okay? They come out of the woman. This is the birth of the man-child. But you, brothers, are not in darkness, so that the day should overtake you as a thief. Why? Because they're watching. They fulfilled the call, the Ezekiel 2:3-33 call of the watchman, the servant. But you, brothers, are not in darkness, so that the day should overtake you as a thief. For you are all sons of light and sons of the day. We are not of the night nor in darkness. You profaning his Sabbath, keeping a dusk to dusk Babylonian Sabbath. It's
Matthew 28:1 is a good example of the day begins at dawn.
2 Peter 1:19. This is a more sure thing of prophecy, that the day will dawn in your heart. So you profaning his Sabbath, you're not even in covenant, because you're keeping a profane Sabbath. And if you're doing his feast, you're breaking the 10th commandment, because your heart has gone after his covetousness, and you are also taking his name in vain, because you are profaning his feast, his holy set apart feast in this profane land, and you are not distinguishing between the holy and the profane, which is what is Ezekiel 44?
Yep.
Speaks about that in Ezekiel 44. So, for you are all sons of light and sons of the day. The day begins at dawn. And for people who do not see this, it's so plain and it's so clear. My sister Meg has really good videos on the day dawning. My brother Josh has a really good video of the day dawning. I'll link Brother Josh's video in the comments. So then we should not sleep as others do, but we should watch and be sober. That doesn't mean it doesn't mean alcohol. Don't return to the drunkards of Ephraim, the prideful people who have chosen not to enter into the calling of the servant of Jacob. For those who sleep at night. For those who get drunk are drunk at night. But we who are of the day should be sober, putting on the breastplate of belief, and love is a helmet of the expectation of deliverance. That's also Isaiah 59:17. Because Jehovah did not appoint us to wrath, but to obtain deliverance through our Master Yeshua Messiah. Where do you want to go?
Isaiah.
Okay. I'm going to go to Isaiah 1. And this, you people who aren't feasting and you aren't warning your brethren, this is Isaiah 1. I'm going to start in verse 11, and I'm going to read through I'm going to read through verse 16. To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me, saith the Lord? I am full of burnt offerings of rams and the fat of fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of bullocks, or in the lambs, or of he-goats. When ye come to appear before me, who hath required this at your hand to tread my courts? Bring no more vain oblations to me. Incense, your prayer is an abomination unto him. The new moons and Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies, I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting. Your new moons and your appointed feasts, my soul hateth. They are a trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them.
I wonder who's keeping those new moons and high Sabbaths.
The Torah people? Your new moons and your appointed feasts my soul hateth. They are a trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when ye spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you. Yea, when you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. If you go back and read Ezekiel 2, 3, and 33, you have to have clean hands and a pure heart. Rebuke the sin and the fables. That is your due diligence to walk as Yeshua walked. That is what he came to do. He came to magnify the law. This is Isaiah 42. Yeshua's sacrifice. He performed the mercy, ended sacrificial law, which all of you in the Torah movement have missed it because you blend sacrificial law with the holy covenants of promise. You can't differentiate between Horeb and Sinai, and you're touching all over Mount Sinai when Jehovah specifically tells you, do not touch that mountain. You have missed the Messiah. He's become a stone of stumbling unto you. You can watch my last video about that, where I go from the right to the left, where everybody has missed the Messiah because they don't understand the simplicity of Yeshua. He came, he ended sacrificial law, learned the difference between the holy covenants of promise and the Mosaic sacrificial law. He performed the mercy, ended sacrificial law, magnified and elevated the 10 commandments. And he said, look, instead of stoning each other now, you can rebuke. And none of you are rebuking because you're feeding your own bellies and you're feasting in a time of mourning, lamentation, and woe. And because of that, you have done violence to his Torah and your hands are full of blood. So when he says here, it says, and when you spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you. When you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings before mine eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow. What does that even mean? What is the cause of the fatherless and the widow? Disobedient nations, Jehovah sends them war. It causes... You have the fatherless and the widow, and the disobedience to what? His holy covenant. His
Leviticus 26.
Yeah, Leviticus 26. And then Deuteronomy, 28? This day I set before you blessings and curses. If you obey, I will bless you. If you do not, I will curse you. Disobedience to his holy covenant. Judge the cause of the fatherless and the widow. It is teaching. It is keeping covenant. His 10 commandments and his rainbow covenant, the Noahic covenant. And then going forth and teaching others to do so. That is the royal law. That is how Yeshua walked. That is your staff of authority that you were supposed to pick up and you were supposed to carry. This was Aaron's rod in the Ark of the Covenant. Yeshua's blood, he performed the mercy. His blood was spilt on the mercy seat of the Ark, inside of which was the 10 Commandments, Aaron's rod of authority, and the hidden bowl of manna. This is why you don't know prophecy, is because you are not walking as the Messiah walked. That golden pot of manna, sweet in the mouth, bitter in the belly. You don't understand prophecy because you're feasting in a profane land. He just told you in Isaiah 1, it is iniquity. And Lamentations 2:6 will tell you why it's iniquity. Let's go there real quick. Lamentations 2:6 says, he hath demolished his booth like a garden. He has destroyed his place of meeting. Jehovah has made the appointed times and Sabbath, the high Sabbaths, to be forgotten in Zion, and despises sovereign and priest in his raging displeasure. So it's a sin. If you're profaning his feast, it is sin. It is iniquity.
And you better, if you think you can do one thing, you have to do it all perfectly. There's no way. We don't have the calendar. So why it was like we both have that testimony of coming out of the Torah movement, okay, and truly fulfilling Luke 16 prophecy.
Absolutely.
Of being repentant and saying, we don't know the exact date. And why is it that in the Torah community, everybody is doing Sukkot at a different time? Why is everybody doing the Day of Atonement, which would be cut off if you had the day wrong? Why is everybody for a month long just picking and choosing their own day because they're doing what's right in their own eyes?
Just as Saul did in Gilgal.
And they need to be in lamentation, mourning, and woe, trying to find the lost sheep. You know, their brothers and sisters who were confused. And you can see this, like, one of the perfect examples is Daniel 10. And I'm going to go ahead and read it. Daniel 10.
You want to mention Luke 16? Well, we're
Luke 16, which is, the
parable of the unjust steward, the repentant unjust steward.
Which you have an awesome video on that.
Yeah, I do. I have a teaching on the repentant unjust steward. It's quickly write a check for half. 10 Commandments, Rainbow Covenant, get in covenant, go teach other women to do so. It's not
paying it
you
forward.
do not put stumbling blocks in front of the lost sheep. If you go to the Christian church and you start saying Urim, Yah, all the crazy Paleo Hebrew that you people think you know, that the language that he took away, and you're trying to enforce the calendar on them, you are nothing but a stumbling block. Woe unto you. Woe unto you. So that's why Jacob has been risen up. And you were called to be Jacob, but you didn't take the call. And for that, you go into the fire of affliction. And she's going to cover that in Daniel 10.
Yeah, so Daniel 10, it says, in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar. Can never say that. Belteshazzar. Okay, and the thing was true, but the time appointed was long, and he understood the thing, and had understanding of the vision. In those days, I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth. Neither did I anoint myself at all till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. And in the 24th day of the 1st month, that would be during Passover, as I was by the side of the great river, it says in verse 5, then I lifted up my eyes and I looked, and behold, okay, so the point is that Daniel was in lamentation, mourning, and woe, okay? He wasn't feasting in a profane land. Now, going through the fire of affliction were his friends. Who were his friends? Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. They had to go. Now, yes, Messiah was with them through that great tribulation, through that fiery furnace. But if you don't have to go through it, and you can go ahead and do the work now and fulfill the royal law and find those that are lost, why wouldn't you? And then, of course, the fires of affliction, we also see this as another cross-reference in Isaiah 48. So it's all throughout. We want not to be dumb dogs who cannot bark. All right, we want to be fulfilling the royal law, finding the lost sheep, getting, being repentful for the things that we had done in the past, and to get on that narrow road.
And also, I think it's definitely worth mentioning, if you choose not to repent now and you choose to keep profaning his feasts, and you do this through tribulation, you will have to fulfill the royal law, what we're doing right now through tribulation. The only person you can save is yourself. If you choose to answer the Watchman calling and enter into the servanthood now and be Jacob, you have the opportunity to save your whole family. I don't know how far Jehovah's mercy goes. You could save multiple people. But in tribulation, it is every man for themselves.
And you can see that in Isaiah 65, verse 8. He will not destroy them all for his servant's sake.
The promises, the beatitudes, it is all written to the servants. Stop being foolish virgins. Stop being dumb dogs and learn how to bark.